The Fever got themselves a victory at home tonight against the Seattle Storm. Now, earlier today, I warned you guys. I was like, look, they're going to win this game. They're going to win this game by blowout. Why is that? Well, simply put, Seattle Storm, arguably.
The entire mood surrounding the Indiana Fever has changed overnight, just days ago. The franchise looked trapped under a cloud of pressure, frustration, and growing panic. Now, that tension has been replaced by a cold, dominant brand of basketball that left absolutely no doubt about who controlled the game. But even after the Fever walked away with a convincing double-digit win, one chilling reality inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse could not be ignored anymore. As the broadcast cameras scanned the arena after the final buzzer, the image was impossible to miss. Thousands of empty seats sat scattered throughout the building. Despite Caitlin Clark being on the floor against a legitimate WNBA opponent, nearly 3,000 seats reportedly remained unfilled, and suddenly the conversation around this team became much bigger than an 89-78 victory over the Seattle Storm. Welcome back to WNBA Pro, because tonight was not just about Indiana winning a basketball game. It exposed the growing divide between Caitlin Clark's superstar impact on the court and the frustration many fans are now directing toward the organization around her. While Clark delivered another electrifying performance, a large section of the fan base appeared to send a loud financial message to the front office in the form of empty chairs and missing ticket revenue. And before diving into the larger picture, we need to talk about what Caitlin Clark actually did during this game, because this was the exact type of performance Fever fans, analysts, and coaches have been waiting for all season long. This time, Clark did not have to drag the team through nearly 40 exhausting minutes. She did not have to completely empty the tank late in the fourth quarter just to keep Indiana alive. She was not forced to carry a dysfunctional system on sheer willpower alone. Instead, she delivered a ruthless basketball clinic in just 23 minutes and 42 seconds of action. Every possession looked controlled, every decision looked sharp. The offense flowed with confidence, the pace stayed aggressive, and Clark operated with the kind of efficiency that completely changes the ceiling of this team when everything is functioning correctly.
Her own offensive system for the Indiana Fever, and it is watch me play make, watch me roll. I'm gonna take this rock and I'm gonna show.
Caitlin Clark stepped onto the court and immediately took complete control of the game. From the opening possessions, she dictated the tempo, carved apart the defense, and reminded the entire basketball world why she is viewed as one of the most gifted playmakers the WNBA has ever seen. By the end of the night, Clark had piled up 21 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds while barely breaking a sweat compared to the heavy workloads she has carried in previous games. She shot 50% from the field, connected on 5 of her 10 shot attempts, buried multiple deep threes, and was absolutely perfect from the free throw line, finishing a flawless 9 for 9. And when you really break down the numbers, the performance becomes even more ridiculous. Recording 10 assists in just under 24 minutes is almost unheard of, pace-wise. Stretch that production across a full 40-minute game, and you are looking at nearly 17 assists. That is elite-level offensive orchestration at a historic level. Clark was reading Seattle's defense before plays even fully developed. She spotted Sophie Cunningham slicing into open space at exactly the right moment. She fed Maisha Hines-Allen in the post. The instant she gained positioning, every defensive rotation, every trap, every hedge coverage from the Storm was recognized instantly, and Clark answered each one with a laser-accurate pass that completely broke the defense apart. This was not just another routine double-double stat line. This was a near triple-double produced in barely over half a game of basketball. That is the terrifying reality of what happens when a generational talent is finally placed in a situation where she can operate efficiently instead of being run into exhaustion. This version of Caitlin Clark is on an entirely different level, when her energy is preserved, when her legs stay fresh, and when she is not being forced to survive. Through 38 punishing minutes every night, her offensive ceiling becomes almost impossible to contain. She controls the pace, attacks with confidence, and turns every possession into a nightmare for opposing defenses. At full strength, she becomes virtually unguardable. What makes this even more interesting is that very few people in the mainstream sports world are discussing the actual adjustments that changed everything tonight. Just days ago, WNBA Pro pointed directly at the 3 critical fixes Indiana desperately needed if they wanted to stop spiraling, improve the free throw shooting, manage the minutes correctly, and stabilize the bench rotation. Against Seattle, the first 2 adjustments worked almost flawlessly.
Caitlin Clark finding her 3-ball early. Guys, Caitlin Clark's got her 3-point shot back. And that's probably the best thing that has come out of all of it, is she's knocking this down. Boom, finally. And she hit some more long threes tonight. Right here, let's check this out.
Let's start with the most underrated part of this entire performance: free throw shooting, because this is exactly the kind of detail that quietly separates well-run teams from ones that constantly fall short in big moments. In their previous outing against the Washington Mystics, the Indiana Fever shot a disastrous 68% from the line. That game alone featured 6 missed free throws, and they ended up losing in double overtime by just 2 points. Those empty opportunities at the stripe directly cost them the game. Fast forward to tonight, and the contrast couldn't be more extreme. Indiana delivered a perfect performance from the free throw line, going 22 for 22 as a team. Not a single miss, not one wasted opportunity. In a game they ultimately won by 11 points. Those automatic points became the quiet foundation of the victory. Every player who stepped to the line executed under pressure. Caitlin Clark went a flawless 9 for 9. Sophie Cunningham matched that composure, going 6 for 6. Lexi Hull added a perfect 3 for 3. Maisha Hines-Allen contributed 2 for 2. That kind of collective precision is not random. It's the result of a team identifying a fatal weakness and completely correcting it in real time. The second major adjustment was just as important: managing Caitlin Clark's minutes. Playing just 23 minutes, she stayed fresh, sharp, and fully in control. Her reads in the half court were cleaner, her decisions came faster, and her shot selection never drifted into forced, tired attempts late in the shot clock. This was the coaching staff finally following through on the load management approach they had emphasized since the offseason, and the impact was immediate. Clark looked more efficient, more explosive, and far more composed than she has in recent heavy minute stretches. And when she operates at that level, everyone around her benefits. The supporting cast finally stepped into their roles with confidence, and no one embodied that shift more than Kelsey Mitchell. After a week of criticism surrounding her shot selection and inconsistent playmaking, Mitchell responded with a strong and disciplined performance. She finished with 17 points on 8 of 18 shooting, but the most telling number wasn't her scoring, it was her plus-minus, a staggering plus 21. Every minute she was on the floor, Indiana controlled the game and steadily pulled away from Seattle. In a rare development, Mitchell also added 2 assists, a small but meaningful sign of improved balance in her game. When she plays within the flow of Clark's system and avoids forcing tough looks, she becomes a far more dangerous and impactful offensive weapon. Sophie Cunningham also delivered exactly what Indiana needed. After a stretch of inconsistent outings, she bounced back with a strong all-around performance, scoring 17 points on 5 of 9 shooting while staying perfect from the free throw line at 6 for 6. Even the bench contributed in a meaningful way, with Michaela Timpson providing energy, pulling down 6 rebounds, and adding 6 points across 17 productive minutes.
Taking a shot, and then bless her heart, celebrating. That's so good. So good. Sophie really showed up tonight for this Indiana Fever team. It was impressive. Wow. Wow. So they got to win. You might be like, Rhodes, you're not You're not.
Despite the win, there are still serious concerns that cannot be ignored. Issues that head coach Stephanie White and the front office continue to sidestep because a single victory doesn't erase the deeper structural problems still lingering underneath. The first and most immediate question is the status of Aaliyah Boston. She did not suit up tonight and was officially listed as DNP due to illness or injury. WNBA Pro is going to be monitoring this situation closely over the next 48 hours because Boston is the undeniable cornerstone of this front court. If this is nothing more than a short-term setback, Indiana can manage. But if it lingers, or worse, becomes a recurring issue, then the front court depth problem fans have been warning about all offseason instantly shifts from concern to full-scale organizational crisis. The reality is simple. The front office already allowed key backup bigs to leave in free agency. If Boston is forced to miss extended time, Indiana's interior defense would be left exposed against top-tier opponents. Then there is the confusing and increasingly frustrating situation surrounding Walker Kimbrough. Based on the numbers and available data, she was projected to play around 10 to 12 minutes per game to stabilize the guard rotation and provide a scoring spark off the bench. Instead, Stephanie White's rotation decision tonight went in the complete opposite direction. Rather than integrating her into a real role, Kimbrough received just 3 minutes and 14 seconds of action. After being held out entirely for 3 straight games, this wasn't a meaningful opportunity. It felt more like a symbolic appearance. In those brief minutes, she went 0 for 1 from the field and finished with a -9 rating in a chaotic stretch that offered no real chance to make an impact. That is not a legitimate rotation adjustment. That looks more like a coach briefly inserting a player into the game just to check a box and move on from external criticism. The Walker Kimbrough situation remains unresolved, and it continues to highlight a growing disconnect between the coaching staff's decisions and the actual construction of the roster. But ultimately, none of these tactical questions or lineup debates matter if the environment around the team continues to deteriorate. And that brings everything back to the most uncomfortable and financially alarming reality of the night.
Wow. Guys, this happened in real time when the game ended because it was not up. I just checked it 5 minutes ago. 14,505 attended the game. I believe in the regular season, that is officially the least attended game in which
Gainbridge Fieldhouse has a listed capacity of 17,274 seats, one of the most iconic basketball arenas in the world. Tonight's official attendance came in at roughly 14,505, which leaves about 2,769 empty seats staring back at a Caitlin Clark showcase performance. Nearly 3,000 empty chairs in a building that was once impossible to get into. Back during Caitlin Clark's historic rookie season in 2024, the demand was overwhelming. Ticket waitlists stretched for thousands. Secondary market prices skyrocketed. Simply put, you could not get in. Fast forward to tonight, and the reality feels completely flipped. Walk-up tickets were reportedly available for around $8, and yet even at that price point, thousands of seats remained empty. Roughly 3,000 people looked at the product, looked at the direction of the franchise, and made the decision to stay home. This now stands as the lowest attended regular season game of the Caitlin Clark era. And whether anyone wants to admit it or not, that is a measurable reflection of the current state of the organization under Stephanie White's leadership. From confusing and evasive press conferences, to the reluctance to fully embrace Caitlin Clark's historic impact, to back-to-back home losses in overtime, to questionable rotation decisions involving hot hands, and growing frustration with internal decision-making, everything together is starting to wear down the casual fan base. The diehards are still locked in, the analytics community is still tracking every possession, but the casual audience, the families, and everyday fans who pay to be entertained are beginning to send a very clear financial message. They are withholding their money, and in doing so, they are directly pressuring ownership. And the message is simple: they will support Caitlin Clark, but they will not continue to fund organizational dysfunction or mismanagement of a generational talent. Here's the irony that's hard to ignore. The exact formula to bring those 3,000 empty seats back is already being shown on the court. It's not complicated. Manage Caitlin Clark's minutes effectively. Let her control the offense without hesitation or restriction. Surround her with a rotation that actually contributes. Hit free throws. Play disciplined basketball. Win games convincingly and consistently. Do that and the energy in the building changes immediately. Fans want to show up. They want to buy jerseys, tickets, and merchandise. But they are not going to reward disorganization. Tonight was a clear step forward on the court. The Indiana Fever showed they have the talent to dominate when everything is structured properly, and their star is not overworked. But those 3,000 empty seats are a loud and uncomfortable warning to the organization and its ownership group.